Foyers, happy Sunday. How are you? How was your weekend? This was a fancy weekend, right? What did you do? If you celebrate Valentine's Day, how was your weekend? Did you add any romance, play, fun, joy, laughter into your weekend? I would love to know in the comments below. What did you do to make sure come tomorrow you're ready to hop out the bed, ready to go to work? I had the chance to relax, to go out in nature, to enjoy some me time. I thoroughly enjoyed this weekend. And so I would love to know, what did you do? Are you ready for work tomorrow? Are you going to hop out of the bed excited to contribute much needed value to the world? Or are you going to feel dread? Are you going to hit the snooze button 11 times? Do you already feel anxiety, worried, or stressed about tomorrow? I would love to know in the chat, how do you feel about tomorrow? We still have time before work starts. So, what are you going to do to add play, fun, joy, laughter to your day so that you're ready tomorrow, right? And that right now you could stop feeling negative emotions. I would love to know in the chat if you are playing as hard as you work, if you are de-stressing, if you are wary or anxious about work tomorrow, if you're feeling stressed, it means that you are not de-stressing throughout the day, during your free time, and it needs to be a priority, right? 90% of all visits to doctors are for stress-related problems, and so it means that what we're doing to manage stress is not adaptive. It is maladaptive. And the society that we live in makes maladaptive practices convenient, right? Accessible. And so it's in our best interest to make sure we're doing what will improve the overall quality of our lives. We only live once and we deserve to enjoy it. And one of the best ways that I believe to decrease cortisol, to improve the overall quality of your life and add more meaning is reading. Reading is a way to decrease cortisol. It is a way to gain new information, increase your vocabulary, make you feel more confident, help you talk about a wide range of topics. There are just so many health benefits to reading, although we don't read. Facebook doesn't count. So we gotta, well, I would say we must find whatever avenue, even if it's reading articles online. I would prefer you read a tangible book, but if that's a Kindle or article online, we need to find ways that we are shifting our eyes from left to right to make sure that we are reducing cortisol in our bodies. We're taking on new information to help us solve our dilemmas and improve the quality of our life. So I read a new book each week. Although I don't necessarily do a book report for you all each week, I have been doing a series called Unstressable. And this is, I think, part 10. And so what I did is I read this book last year and I made some bookmarks, things that triggered me, things that I would like to speak with my community about. And so I come here weekly and do a book review video. It's either the book that I'm reading this week or Unstressable, or I've also been doing a series called Athena, the 8 Leadership Principles. And I think I am recording the last one today. But I have a book club called Brain Train Book Club. It is absolutely free. Where each week we read a new book and discuss it. We pick 12 books, so one book a month. So I read a total of 52, but our community reads one a month, so 12 a year. If you are interested, join us today at 5 o'clock. We are reading or finishing I Move My Cheese, which is a great book. But today we are going to talk about Unstressable Part 10. Now, in order to do Unstressable Part 10, right now we are on page 37 at the bottom. In order to read through this, I need to do a little pre-work before. So let's switch this. Is this better? Perfect. So stress is a cycle. I mean, I know you don't necessarily see the words, but the most important is the actual diagram. Stress happens in the cycle, right? It can happen in an autopilot cycle when we're not even aware that stressors are happening to us. And most of us are living in autopilot. We don't necessarily know what stress is, how it's impacting us, when it's impacting us, what symptoms that come along with stress. We are just going through the motions. We may feel in the moment stressed or negatively emotionally charged, but we don't necessarily know or can't trace how it's impacting our body and the consequences of it, right? And so whenever there is a stimulus and we view it as a stressor, we tend to react to it without even thinking. It's autopilot, right? We tend to have some programmed responses in our brain. So when this happens, we do this. Or when something like this happens, we do something like this. And so we don't necessarily think of it. Most of our life is centered on autopilot behavior, right? Things that we have programmed into our system, our brain, our mind is like a computer that we have programmed in, and we don't even think about these responses. They are automatic, right? That is kind of what autopilot is. And so we react to the stress. There's wear and tear on our body and our organs. And of course, we don't know what our stress symptoms are. So we don't know if we're experiencing stress. We don't tend to tie, a lot of the symptoms that we experience to stress, like, problem sleeping, rashes, backaches, aches, pains, concentration problems. There are so many different symptoms and over 50, right? And we don't necessarily know that we are experiencing stress. We're not thinking about how this, stomach ache or this headache is stress induced, right? Or we're feeling anxiety or panic or worry and it's stress induced. We don't connect the two because we don't necessarily know what stress is, and we don't know the impacts on our body without stress education. And many of us have not received stress education. So then it reduces our optimum health, right? Because if we start off at 100% and then over time we continue to let things wear and tear on our body and organs, we go from 100% to 90 to 30 to negative, and we wonder why we are so sick and so ill, and we are not enjoying the experience that we're having. And then by us now being, even if it was 100% now to 99%, in that 1% difference, we have increased sensitivity to stress because we are not allowing our stressor to build anti-fragility. And then the process starts all over again. And most of the time, as mentioned, it is autopilot. So we're experiencing stress every single day. Chronic stress is not healthy for us. We should not be experiencing stress every single day. Stress is not normal, although normalized. Pressure is normal. Challenges are normal. Stress is not, right? And so we want to be careful about the amount of stress that we experience, whether it's good stress or bad stress. And we want to interrupt this cycle, this stress cycle, with mindfulness. That is really the only way to do it, is to be mindful of how you're interacting with the world so that you can interrupt the stress cycle and interject with your wants, your needs, the other person, stakeholders, the end result, so that you can respond instead of react. We have the ability to respond by thinking about what we need, our long-term goals, dreams, and results of the situation, as opposed to just reacting, with autopilot thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. And so, again, before we go into this passage, I just kind of wanted you to understand what the stress cycle is and how it impacts us. And so, let me go ahead and read to you. It says, when that happens, the feedback loop, the cycle that works perfectly from trigger to stress to victory over your stressor to the suppression of stress, works in reverse. Sometimes, often, even in the modern world, the feedback cycle doesn't shut off your stress response. Instead, it increases it. This is the worst part of stresses that are triggered by thoughts and emotions. They last as long as the emotion or thought that triggers them persists. And they multiply because the thoughts trigger emotions and emotions trigger thoughts. As a result, the negative feedback loop, the mechanism that is supposed to bring you calm, breaks. Cognition, in that case, does not lead to a realization that there is no need to be stressed. Instead, it reinstates the same virtue virtue danger it created in the first place, and reinforces and needs for more stress. And reinforces the need for more stress. No real danger, only thoughts and emotion, and then it gets even worse. Stress in itself leads you to become more susceptible to more triggers that stress you. And so this is absolutely important. And it is something that I definitely wanted to talk to us about because, again, when we lived off the land, the stress cycle worked perfectly, right? It was the perfect system to help us be aware of the things that are happening to us and then it shift back into relaxation. So when something happens off the land, we're walking through, we hear something in the bush, instantly our stressors it becomes a stressor because we do not know what it is, and our body begins to react, right? So if we need to run, and we need to freeze, we need to play dead, if we need to fawn is what that's called. um, Freeze and fawn. Fawn is to beg or freeze. We have to have all of everything working properly for us to do that in a split instance, right? We can't necessarily go through the process of what should I do? How should I do it? How should I respond? It needs to already be a program, an automatic programmed response, right? We need to respond quickly just in case it is a lion, tiger, bear, or something or someone that is trying to bring harm, threaten us, or hurt us, right? And so this system, this cycle is so beneficial when we live off the land because after, it's first of all, the stress is short term and it's short term induced stress. And so it lasts only but a second and then we slip back into relaxation. It After the threat has moved on, it activates our parasympathetic nervous system and we're able to relax, right? We no longer see the threat. We are now in a safe environment. We can relax. And so the stress cycle is beneficial in nature, but in society, it's kind of thrown off because we're perceiving these things that are not necessarily physical danger to us, but are emotional danger or physiological danger as far as like how we feel or how we think it will impact us or the pain that it may cause us if we think it can cause us pain, right? And so a lot of the times we are experiencing chronic stress throughout the day to just various different scenarios, situation stressors, and we don't even know that that thing stresses out. We have created a baseline for it, so we're numb to how we're feeling when it comes to that particular thing. Right. And so imagine how many things in our lives that we're numb to, we're not necessarily feeling the stress of, but it doesn't mean that it's not impacting our health and well being. And then we're constantly in a negative feedback loop that's impacting us, causing more wear and tear on our body and our organs until we no longer have what it takes to fight off or to be I want to say, responsive to what is happening around us, right? Either we're numb or we're always overreacting, which both are bad for us, right? So we want to make sure that we are managing our stress throughout the day, especially during stressful moments, so that we are activating our parasympathetic nervous system so that we can calm down and we're not constantly in extreme stress, feeling stress all throughout the day because we are unaware of how we're feeling, what our stresses are, how they impact us in the environments that we're in. It sucks really badly to be in a feedback loop that you are unaware of. And when it talks about stress as an emotion, stress is an emotion, right? It is, let's go ahead and put this chart up. Let's see. No, that's not. Okay, this is not gonna work. Okay, well, can't really see it. Let's see. I could just take my come back on if it's not gonna work. So stress is an emotion, and it is an emotion that produces emotions. So if you are feeling stressed, right, and that is, let's see, if you are feeling any of the top emotions, then you are experiencing stress. So if you're feeling sadness, you're feeling stress. If you feel sleepy, you're feeling stress. You feel anxious, you're feeling stress. And so stress is an emotion within itself, right? It's kind of linked to fear, but it's also an emotion that can be produced from other emotions. So anytime we're feeling negative emotions, frustration, anger, sadness, sleepiness, anger, what else? Critical, confusion. Any of these negative emotions produces stress, and it's not in our best interest to feel any negative emotion or feel it consistently throughout the day. When you do feel negative emotions, I'm not saying push it down, numb yourself. Feel it, work through it, and then dispel it, right? But consistently, chronic states, perpetual, as people say, the temperament of negative emotion is so detrimental to your health and well-being. It is why 90% of all doctor visits are for stress-related problems. And so this wheel is related to Brené Brown Atlas of the Heart that helps us to understand that negative emotions produces stress. Although stress is a negative emotion, and it can create a feedback loop. You can start at, contentment and just keep, going down and down and down until you feel anger, fear, resentment, and all of these, horrible negative emotions, things that decrease your quality of life. And so it's in our best interest to make sure that we're learning about stress. We are receiving stress education, stress management, and wellness training. We are in communities of practice. We are using our environments to practice stress, that we are aware of what stress looks like, what it feels like in our body, in our mind, what stressors are to us, how they show up in our everyday experiences in all areas of our lives, and be aware so that we're there to manage it. One of the best things that you can do to overall improve the quality of your life is to be mindful of the very experience that you're having, right? You are the vessel in which you experience this world, and so awareness is very important. It's easy to be on autopilot and to go through life and not think about how you're feeling, where you are, what you need to do, what you want to experience, your desires, your goals, your dreams. But it is very important that you do, because you have these desires, because you are here to bring them into fruition. And stress is what stands in the way, right? Stress stands in the way of success. It is the enemy of greatness. And so we have to make sure that we're managing our stress every single day. And there is no shame in learning how to learning about stress education and receiving stress management and wellness training, because I, like most of you all, was a professional, and in the corporate environment, it really did bring my lack of stress education to the forefront, and it made me miserable. And the people I noticed that the people around me were also miserable. And once I learned to manage my stress and begin to teach my coworkers and the leaders around me, I realized that this was an opportunity to reform the work environment, to teach people what they really need to improve the overall quality of our lives. Because the work environment is an environment for, made of people, where we're all supposed to go to play, to contribute our best self to the world. But so many of us are stifled by stressors, right? They stand in the way of our creativity, of our innovation, of learning and developing, of connecting, of furthering the mission. And so it's in our best interest to learn to reduce stress, to learn about stress, to make it a priority, and to play as hard as you work. So please, I would love to know, what do you think about what I said today? Did you learn something new? How can you apply this to your life? I would love to know. Drop down in the comments. And as always, I will be around on these inner streets. I will be going live today at 5 p.m. for our book club. So if you are interested, you could join for free, and I will see you there. If you have any questions, please, you can send me a message. You can comment below. You can find me on the inner streets. I am always around. And as always, get out there, play the stress away. I am enjoying my life, but it's no fun if you're not having none. And you deserve to enjoy your one life. So get out there, manage your stress. And I will see you tomorrow for our Stress Well Chat. Have a great day, work life warriors. Bye.